Welcome to the podcast, hablemos de lo nuevo. For the G's, by the G's, ¿qué pasa en el terreno? Vienen jugadores y se van, traiga lo nuevo, a huevo. Doesn't matter where you from, Salvador, Mexico, Honduras, Nicaragua. Todo mi latino, come and listen for an hour. TikTok, que traemos lo que quiere, todo lo que pasa dentro y fuera de las redes. Really? You don't know what it is. Reportamos con la lupa what we see at the digs. En las buenas y en las malas yo diré la verdad. Si cometen un error o tienen habilidad, la calidad del rival cuando viene a jugar. Facts. Yo no me muerdo la lengua. Got love for the crest in the city I came from. Los campeones de campeones y con copas we raise them. Empezamos el programa, soy la voz de LA One. Soy la voz de LA One. Love. Yeah.
Hello, hola, and buenas to all you LA Galaxy fans out there and all you Lacuna Galaxians, wherever you may be. Today, we got some more group therapy for you guys. Today, we're going to be reacting to the Los Angeles Galaxy's 2-0 away loss against Austin FC on April 27th. A humbling in Texas that saw the Galaxy get blanked on the score sheet and play probably the worst game of the MLS season after going down to 2 early goals. But before we get into all of that, I am one of your co-hosts, Rob Jalon. You can find my written work now at Extra Time, and you can find me online at El Escudero, the LA. And of course, with me, as always, is the ride or die GN homie, El Gitano Perdido, El Yerno Guapo, and Mr. First-time away trip taker, Ananda Kirana. Papa, it was your first away trip. It didn't end up how you wanted it, but how you feeling otherwise, man? We have a pod to do, regardless of wins or losses, and so yeah, we got to book up now. Let's get it. Let's get after it.
En las buenas and las malas, no se dicen. But yeah, man. Well, you know what? Unfortunately, sadly, ya no es SADA. Ya es just straight sad. No more. Just SAD. Just straight sad, right? And
not SADA, just straight sad.
Just straight sad. No. Ya no más. Ya no hay el A. Quita el A y straight up sad. And shoot, that's my one word reaction, man. Just sad. Straight up sad. No, ya no más. Ya no hay más SADA. It's over. We went down. We went back just like the team with our tails between our legs. And but. Look, all jokes aside, we had an awesome time. I mean, we'll talk about that a little bit later, guys. But yeah, the team did not show up for the both of us or the other traveling fans that got to experience that game, unfortunately, live. But so yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we have to talk about this game. Like I said earlier, in las buenas o las malas, we're always there for you guys. So let's have this group therapy session because, Rob, I need it as much as probably you and everybody else in chat.
Well, speaking of chat, let's go ahead and shout some of the homies out here. Big Heck, gracias por estar con nosotros otra vez. Leg show all day. Ananda, I'm surprised you haven't given us that score yet.
Speaking of sad, yeah, let's see where. Yeah. Oh, okay. 91-89 is what the Google is saying. 6:20 left in the fourth quarter. So, chat, I'm gonna do a little scoreboard watching, but feel free to.
Who's winning though? He didn't say who's winning.
The Lakers. I said the Lakers.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Raji says tough game to watch, and I can only imagine in person. Sorry, bros. Yeah, it was a bummer. But again, we'll get into all of it because I mean, there was a lot of good moments, and of course, there was the one big letdown of the game. But Anandita, let's go ahead and say what's up to Big Boat, who's out there. Boat, what's up? It's Chris. What's up? What's up to you as well? Saludos from our beautiful stadium. I'm assuming he means the digs over there in Carson. Chat, let us know where you're listening to this pod from. I'm in Glendale. Ananda's in Ontario, coming at you live and direct. But of course, we know the LA Galaxy is worldwide. We know that there's G's in Japan. We know that there's G's in Brazil. We know that there's G's in England. So wherever you're listening to this pod from, go ahead and let us know. Anandita, before I call you out on doing your thing, I do have to say we are well, I was going to say tremendously close to our 100th show, but today you put me on game and you made me realize that we actually reached 100 shows already because we've done a couple of special episodes. So we're technically at 100 shows already, but we wanted to celebrate this milestone with you guys. So we're going to be celebrating our official 100th show on May 6th, just after the Galaxy visit Seattle. So go ahead and hang with us for that special 100th episode. We hope to have a bunch of fun stuff for you that day. And Anandita, take it away. Do your thing, Papa.
Yeah. And real quick, so Raul, shout out from Pico. Speaking of Pico, we'll talk about the boy from Pico Rivera because he did make an appearance as well, and it was nice to see him on the pitch. But yeah, let's get some housekeeping out of the way because we got a lot of therapy to go through today, Robert. So, of course, you guys can always follow, block me, or stalk me at Ananda Galaxiana. You guys can always find us at all of our socials at Lacuna Galaxiana.
Do you have any stalkers yet?
Just comment at C. Shout out Matthew. Shout out. That's a good
stalker, that's a good stalker to have though.
Yeah, that is a great yeah, it's an all-star stalker right there. But working on it. But anyways, yeah, so you guys can always follow us on our socials. And guys, thank you again for coming back to our YouTube channel. If you guys have not subscribed yet to our channel and you do like what you're hearing, please give us a sub. That'll let you know when we go live and when we'll have special guests on, like we've had the past couple weeks, man. We've had some really awesome guests on, I think, the last couple. And you know, you guys will always stay abreast on top of all of that when you give us a sub and you get that notification bell, right? You'll see that on your notifications. And of course, give us the likes, guys, before you forget, before you get out of the chat room. And those of you, by the way, hearing on playback, because we know all of you can't make it live on a Monday or Thursday night at 9. If you guys are hearing this on your gym days or on your commutes or on your lunches, go ahead and give us that like, guys. We do need to play the YouTube algorithm a little bit, and of course put someone on, share this link, do what you got to do, and spread the good vibes. And Roberto, even in a loss, como siempre, antes de olvidarme,
ahí va.
Buenos días, tardes o noches y bienvenidos a otro capítulo de La Cuna Galaxiana. I feel like it's not going to be a La Cunita because, like I said, we're going to have to express our feelings today of how disappointed we are, but it is what it is. And let's get into it, man. Let's get into this group therapy session.
Even Kobe is trying to chime in here, and he was chilling at Grandma and Grandpa's house while we were in Austin, and he straight up told me, like, man, you left me for that Galaxy loss, and I just had to tell him, it wasn't me, man, it wasn't me. But yeah, before we get into the game and the loss and group therapy, we did want to do some shout outs. This one unscheduled, but I've brought it up a couple times before. LA Tacos in dire straits, they need your help. If you want to support local journalism, and you should, please go ahead and reach out to them, buy merch, buy a subscription. I think like the cheapest rung is like $5.99 a month. And you get a bunch of like members events and stuff like that, where you get a bunch of free discounts at different taco shops and stuff. So go ahead and do your part to save the taco. They are one of the last independent journalism sources here in the city, so it's vitally important that we save publications like theirs. So go ahead and visit lataco.com. Shout out, Robert,
to before you get into the shout outs, chat, like I put on the screen there, go ahead and put your one-word match reactions into the chat. And Robert, I haven't even asked you yet. I told you mine. It's straight up sad, so no more SADA. What about you?
Oh, what do I have to say? Well, one-word match reaction. A waste. A waste.
Wow. Yeah, we'll get into that. We'll get into why. I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna poke on that a little bit later when we get to the match reaction.
It was a waste. We'll get there. Anyway, yes, let us know your one-word match reactions. You know what? You can curse. Doesn't mean we're gonna read it out, but you can definitely curse. Simon Moss says pathetic. Hector says stressful. Gary Cameron says frustrating. Yeah, I'm feeling all those. Again, Ananda and I were there, very, very high up in the stands, and it was crazy to see LA Galaxy fans so deflated. And I mean, people were trying to sing and get stuff going, and as soon as
Yep.
people would, I mean, the team would do something, it would just be like groans, and man, it was tough. But we'll get there. Raul G says sluggish. Yes, Greg Vanny would agree with you.
We'll get to that too. Yep.
All right, but yes, let's go ahead and congratulate and shout out the boys from Straight from the Stands. Those boys are one of the first Galaxy podcasts. They were around since 2017, probably before that. But they announced last week that they've decided to take a hiatus. They were nice enough to, mention us and hey, if you guys need to listen to some Galaxy content, they threw our name out there. We're very humbled and honored. But yeah, shout out to them. And yeah, I mean, we say it all the time, Ananda. This is like a labor of love, and if your heart's not in it, then it's gonna be really hard to do something like this, or you don't have the time. It's really hard to keep it going, So yeah, I mean, they've been around for a long time, and of course hiatus doesn't mean it's done. That just means it's so long for now, So hopefully we get to see those guys at some point once again. Thank you for all your years of service, So like I said, 2017, what is that, 7 years? Jeez, man. Like we talk about all the time, man, how much energy is needed, right? So it's like 7 years is like impressive, man. But anyway, and Anna, that I grew up in the AV. I've told you this before, good old Lancaster. And they finally got something good in the AV in Lancaster, Palmdale area. They got their own USL club. Right now they're known as Antelope Valley, USL Antelope Valley. But on Friday, May 17th, they'll be doing the request and name reveal. They'll also be having a block party. That'll be from 6 to 9 p.m. downtown Lancaster at the intersection of Lancaster Boulevard and Elm Avenue. There's going to be some food trucks, live bands, games. Admission is free. And again, this is probably one of the only really cool things the AV Lancaster Palmdale area has going for it. I know, I grew up there. So I'm hoping to do my part to go ahead and support this team as well. So if you're from the AV or AV adjacent, go ahead and look into USL AV. They're going to be doing their crest and name reveal on the 17th on Friday. And we have some news closer here to home in Los Angeles. The York, now officially an LA Galaxy bar partner. The people have spoken, according to @Eric LA Galaxy. He put up the announcement that the York was now an official bar sponsor, and Ananda and I have been out there, and it's a great place to catch game. We're so happy that it's an official place to watch a Galaxy game. So Ananda, I know where we're going to end up. More often than not. Of course, we do have long-standing invitations from some IEGs. We do got to go catch one with El Primo Matthew from Comets. But we do have a local now, which is great. And then if you haven't checked out any of those, it's Chris says, hey, that's me in the pic. Right on.
Nice.
Hey, right on. It's Chris. You're world famous, baby. We're putting you out there. Look at that. All right. So there are just like in this picture, some more community events. And these are some LA Galaxy like official watch parties. In May, they'll have the Cinco de Mayo pub crawl that'll start on 2nd Street in Long Beach. Of course, Cinco de Mayo, that'll be on May 5th. That begins at 12 p.m. That one sounds super fun. And then on May 18th, they'll have a VIP viewing experience at the 909 Sports Bar at Yamava Resort and Casino. This is $30. but it's a pretty good value, Ananda, because it includes transportation to and from the casino, VIP seating for the watch party at the sports bar, a $15 food credit, a drink voucher for a Modelo, and a $20 gaming credit if you're a new Serrano member. If you have any questions, hit up fan engagement at lagalaxy.com. Ananda, correct me if I'm wrong. You've been to Yamava, right?
Like once, not ever since they changed the name of Yamava. So there you go. That's my experience at that place. Yeah,
So it's been a while then. Okay.
it's been a hot minute.
I'm curious. I'm like, maybe one of these days we'll just do something like this, man, and then that way we can tell the G's out there about the experience. But one thing that I'm for sure doing is picking up the Jalen Neal Rebel Pilot bobblehead. Course, if you are not up on game, that'll be given away on May 11th versus RSL at the Galaxy's home game for Star Wars night. If you already have a ticket, if you're already a season ticket member, you can go ahead and go on your fan account and add this as an add-on to your ticket, I guess, and then pick it up at the game. $15 is what I've been told is that this costs. And the Galaxy will also be giving away 10,000 LED light up foam sticks at that game. Thank you, Marvin. Marvin correctly pointed out on that Yamava event that Yamava won't let anybody that's not 21 through its stores.
Yes.
Thank you so much for pointing that out. Yes, it is it's a casino.
Yep.
So you are not allowed in if you're not 21. But everybody is allowed to get a Jalen Neal bobblehead. So if you can't go to Yamava, you can make up for it by getting a Jalen Neal bobblehead, which, again, I am definitely going to do. He was, obviously played his first part in the season after getting a couple games with VCFC. And speaking of VCFC, they also played over the weekend. They played on Friday. Also in Austin, they played Austin FC 2. They came back from 2 goals down to win in penalties 5-4. Austin 2 went up 2-0 after 37 minutes. And then they staged a furious comeback. Aaron Bibu scored the first in the 55th to make it 2-1. And then Eric Hernandez equalized in the 91st minute with a stunning solo golazo, which earned him MLS Next Rising Star of Match Week 7. They won. VCFC won that game, of course, 5-4 in penalties. They're still first place in the league with 16 points. They're 4-2-1 after 7 games played, 2 points ahead of LAFC 2. So Gary Cambrone letting me know what's really important here: a casino with an all-you-can-eat buffet.
Oh man, you're all over that.
Thank you, Gary Cambrone. Yes, he knows what's, forget the game preview. Let's talk about the buffet now. No, but anyway, so Andrew wants to know, has wifey approved the bobblehead? Ask not for permission, ask for forgiveness, I guess. Ananda actually got to see me ask for an expenditure live and in person there at the record store.
I wish I had a slide for that. You should have seen this guy's face, like a kid in a candy store. But it's Austin, right? Like when in Rome, I guess. And you guys know that Austin and some of these cities are amazing music cities. We got to experience that firsthand as well, seeing some amazing live acts. And yeah, I mean, homie got down and he was happy. So happy. I guess there is a happy, like, what did you say last time? Happy spouse, happy house. But there's nothing for the
happy
husband,
spouse, happy house. Yep. Well, it's always like happy wife, happy life. But I'm like, what about us? What about
right?
Espositos, And so happy spouse, happy house. And you know what? Fair speaking fairly, like wifey was like, yeah, get your records, man. And I was like, yes. So I got a bunch of cool records. Oh, somebody says Lakers exclamation point. But crying.
Oh
So
no. Yeah, I just updated it to 108-106 Denver with a second left. So another buzzer beater.
ooh,
You got to be kidding me, man.
man.
And there goes that probably does it right there. Well,
Well, congratulations on their good season. I mean, they had moments where it didn't even look like they were going to make the playoffs or the play in. So if this is the end, thank you for the season, Lakers. We'll get them next
yep.
year, right?
That's it. That's game. So yeah. Oh man, just sad all around. I'm telling you, this is group therapy, like double
Ah!
session for me now.
Tony Toscana, you just joined a
What's
group
up,
therapy
Tony?
session for the ages, man. Lakers lost, Galaxy lost.
We just have our Kings now, right? So I got this shirt on. This is my lucky shirt. Come on, Kings. Let's go, Kings.
Yay!
Come
Go
on,
Kings,
Kings.
go. I know we do have a couple of Ducks fans out there, but you know what? Let us have this one right now. We'll pay it back in the future. But and I'm not you were talking about kind of like the experience of going to Austin and being out there. So I feel like that's a good lead in because everything started out so well. We got to our plane on time. It was an eventful flight. We even got there early. I mean, we touched down in Austin early. It was supposed to be raining this weekend there. It was great weather. We got to the hotel. Your boys got treated to a free upgrade. Then we got to the room and it was absolutely ballerific. I mean,
Amazing.
balcony, foosball table. I mean, like,
Yeah, that's the first thing I did. I was like, I told your wife, like, hey, let's go play some foosball. Let's go, let's hit it. And
yeah,
and
then
that
she
was amazing.
stomped on you, son. She stomped on you, son. But yeah, it started so well. It all started so well. I mean, like again, guys, this was Ananda's
straight to
first away
barbecue?
trip, and
Went straight to barbecue, right?
yeah, we went straight to Terry Black's. Had amazing barbecue. Had some
Amazing.
delicious margaritas that were staining our mouth black. And it had a nice walk all over the city. And we were like, this is a beautiful life. If this is any indication of how the weekend is going to be, it's going to be beautiful. We went back to the very amazing upgraded room that we got, hung out there and had some drinks there. Then we met up with some Galaxy fans. That was amazing. Everybody was in great spirits. Again, where could it have gone wrong? Where could it have gone wrong, Ananda? But what were your first impressions on the city, man? It was your first time there.
City's amazing. Well, I've been there before, but it was a long time ago. But I hadn't. So this is my first away trip in a sort of sports team, like following a team, going to an away game setting, right? And I mean, it's been a while though, so Austin looks a little bit different to what I remember it. And yeah, just that whole 6th Street area is amazing. You mentioned it earlier, man. One of the live music capitals of this country. Some great live acts there, and just like if you guys are into like rock and roll, blues, country, all that good stuff, man, Austin is definitely the place to be. And if you're a big record collector like Robert, Austin, it's also the place to be apparently. But yeah, and yeah, it was just a great time. It was great meeting up with some of the G's. So man, just really quick before I forget, just shout out to anyone and everyone that we met in the G's community. There's a couple of them in here. So Steven, shout out to you, man. It was good seeing you this weekend. Even all the boys from ACB, Jesse. It was good seeing
special
you.
shout out to Jesse, man, who
Yeah.
was kind of like organizing everybody out there and making sure that everybody was like together and yeah. So shout out to Jesse. Shout out to all the boys from ACB that were out there as well.
Yeah, shout out to some of the Lars boys that I met there as well too, and just a special shout out to Jonathan, man. So Robert, when we came up the steps there and to sit in our seats, Jonathan came up to me and said, "Hey man, like I love what you guys are doing." We started talking, and he was there with his beautiful family and his 2 kids, and the kids unfortunately came out a little sad about the game, and it's happened. I told him, "Hey, it happens, man. It happened to me. This is my first away trip, and I feel like I'm like the unlucky charm for this team." But no, special shout out to you, man. It was great meeting you and your lovely family, and I hope you guys got back safe and had a great time there. And that's beautiful, man. Just it's a family occasion too, right? And that's what the beautiful thing about this thing. It's we're a young club. You mentioned this, I think, last pod or 2 pods ago. We're a young club if you look at in comparison to some of the European clubs with like generations of fans, right? But it's nice seeing sort of that generation thing being passed
Desde
down.
la cuna, baby.
Yeah, exactly. So that was beautiful to see. But no, man, great trip. And of course, this damn team let me down.
Well, this does remind me, because you'll always remember, obviously, your first trip, right? And then you'll always remember that the Galaxy laid a stinker and they lost. So, chat, go ahead and let me know what your first away trip was. Let me know who the Galaxy played and if they won or lost. I'd really be interested to know. I believe my first away trip was Chicago, and the Galaxy won, but I'll have to fact check that one with the wifey, because whatever she says goes. So she'll let me know what's really up.
Yeah,
Anyway.
but speaking of shout outs and sort of just to recap or cap off the sort of experience, right, other than the city. So of course, game happens, less said about it better. And actually post match was really fun too.
No,
we got to meet.
You slow your roll, because
What
I have
happened?
one more thing to say before
say
I know where you're going.
All right,
and I had a special request. I had a special request from the commissioner. Hey, Papa Mao, what's up? He wanted to know a status update on how SADA went, right? And
sad, like I said.
Yeah, well, it turned sad.
It turned into sad.
Yeah. But we're here to grade you strictly on your SADA performance. And I believe I said online earlier, he showed a lot of heart, showed a lot of fight, but ultimately, lack of experience in the final third let him down. 6 out of 5, 6.5 out of performance. I'm gonna keep it real. Wifey kept on telling him, like, come on, man, you need to drink more. You need to drink more. And he tried valiantly.
And I did. And
but
I did.
We're gonna need some more training, guys.
And I did. Well, no. You know what?
Yeah,
I'm not taking this, man.
You caught a second wind.
I'm not taking this though. This is like I'm sounding like the Miguel Berry of away trips now. This is not right. I'm not taking that. The 6.5 out of 10 lack of finishing in the final third. I'm not taking it. I'm not taking it, Robert. I'll take I don't know, like what's a good, I don't know. I can't even think of I mean, I'll take Ethan Zubak of away trips, for crying out loud, but at least he scored some goals, but
okay.
But, yeah.
Well, first off, no one said Miguel Berry of the drinking.
I said it.
But you know what? You did have moments of brilliance. The potential is there. I feel like with the right training, that you'll achieve world-class levels. And the good thing is that Mauricio says that there's plenty of people that will train you. So I guess SADA is a season-long thing now. Anyone sees Ananda at the stadium, you can tap them up and you can make them drink. I don't make the rules. I just shout them out. So go ahead and SADA all season now. So yeah, we had a blast, man. And I know, like I said, I knew where you were going with this, and that's why I wanted to take a moment and give you like a moment to call these boys out, because we had a lot of fun meeting them.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna let you do the honors, Papa. I'm gonna put up this thing. So obviously this was post match. I'm gonna actually talk about the other things, then you can shout out these boys. But first, actually, we ran into, well, there's a couple things. We saw Edwin Cerrillo and his family post match sort of take pictures in the sort of corner flag area right by the
We met Dieguito's
main
family
entrance.
too.
We met Dieguito's family, Diego Fagundez, lovely family, lovely mom and dad. We got to speak with them for a few minutes after. Just
his brother,
super gracious. We can see, where Diego gets his good character and why he's such a good person, just from talking to his parents and his brother as well. So shout out to you as well, man. And of course, we got to meet up with some familiar faces. So these cats right here. So shout out to Hernan and all you boys from WeAreAustinTV, man. And by the way, if you guys notice that guy on the right wearing the Galaxy jersey, that is Chuy from News Across the Galaxy. So he was there as well. I had no idea he was there. I guess he actually made the day trip, which is, man, that's passion right there. That's dedication. And it was great to meet him in person. Never met him in person, so it was nice to have a little chat with him. And I was listening to the Nag Boys a little bit yesterday, and Chuy was saying, one of the great things about actually, no, Edgar mentioned this. One of the great things about being in podcasts and us coming together like this, and Edgar was in a fraternity, right? And so this feels like a fraternity. This feels like people that you can rely on. Of course, we have our groups and we have our own tribes, right? But at the end of the day, we're all kind of in a little fraternity here, and we all sort of support each other and are there for each other. So that's a beautiful thing. And man, these guys are, they're doing big things in Austin, and it was great to meet them. And I got to do a little fan cam with them as well. So if you guys go to their Twitter or YouTube, you can check that out. I did just a 1 minute fan cam. Hernan wanted to get, of course, a Galaxy fan's opinion post match. So yeah, that was awesome, man. And I know you were pleased as well meeting them, and I know we had a good time.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's kind of like a surreal experience in that stadium, right? Because everyone is friendly. Like, you go anywhere in the stadium, from the beer guy to like ushers, and like everybody is friendly. It's we spoke about it last pod. Maybe Austin just doesn't have enough time in the league to like have developed beef with anybody or like ill feeling, but yeah, man, it was lovely to walk in. Everyone was like, "Hey, welcome!" And so, what were your thoughts on the stadium itself, Ananda? I know that you were kind of excited to see the stadium because it's quite new.
It's a new stadium. It's a lot steeper. Like, it's got much of more like an amphitheater type of feel to it, especially in the supporter section. And I think that's intentional. I feel like a lot of the new stadiums are built that way just to create that atmosphere, right? That's imposing for the opposing team, that they feel like the crowd is on top of them, right? So that's obviously that's a cool feature of the stadium. But yeah, as you mentioned, it's really less about the stadium, and just I was surprised at how friendly the people were. Like, even the ticket stall people, like, welcoming us to the stadium and ushering us to our section. And yeah, I know you told me like this definitely isn't going to happen next week in Seattle. That's for darn sure. So it's a treat that I think we gotta just kind of enjoy and ride out until this becomes a rivalry, right?
Yeah, man. And it was kind of cool that like everybody was so helpful and accommodating, because again, we tried to go out and do our thing on Friday night, and so we were a little bit sluggish in the morning. As everyone knows, this was an early morning game, and for us Angelinos that were out there, it was probably kind of hard to get going in the morning. It was for us, for sure. If it hadn't been for those waffles in the morning, Ananda, I don't know if I hadn't made it. But dealing with all that, and then finding out, well, we had already found out that Dejan Jovic was going to be out, right? But then dealing with all that, and then seeing the lineup, seeing Miguel Berry in the lineup, and just hoping for a performance, was getting a lineup that had Jalen Neal as a starter, and then a couple moments later getting another lineup was kind of jarring, especially, like I said, going through all those that haze of the Friday, right? So so yeah, Galaxy fans had this lineup that came out and got retracted. So I was kind of like, what's going on here? Eventually they settled on the lineup that's pictured with the center back pairing of Maya Yoshida and Martin Cáceres. And if you are listening to this rather than watching this, Miguel Berry instead of Jalen Neal as the player featured. Ananda, you and I had a difference of opinion, because we usually do a moment of the match a little bit later in the pod. But this was my moment of the match, even before the game started. Is this lineup, deciding to put or saying, hey, we're gonna give Jalen Neal his first start, and then taking that back. I think you all say hindsight is 2020, but I think we could clearly see the way the Galaxy was punished, that Jalen Neal is probably the right decision and the right way to go with that. So that was my moment of the match. I know for you, it's something different. But what did you think of this lineup?
Yeah, I think the big shocker, and honestly, the bigger miss was probably more Dayon than Jalen. But I mean, I guess you could argue that either way because we did give up 2 goals in the beginning, and you saw the the glaring lack of speed that we had in the back line, right? And so if I look at this, made me think just sort of in totality about this season so far, and if there was one Achilles heel, well, we know of one, which is set piece defending, which, hey, Robert, we didn't give us a set piece goal this week, so that's a start, right? But the other thing that I mentioned when we when we previewed this game with Michelle was the lack of speed in transition, especially defensively. And I think that is one of the things that needs to get addressed. We have the players to do it off the bench. We know with Garces and Neil. But of course, Neil is just getting back into full fitness. So yeah, hindsight, like I said, is always 2020. Maybe he just wasn't physically ready to do a 90 minutes yet. So I don't know if I'm going to blame Vanny for this one because, like I said, it's easy to look behind the rearview mirror, but of course, it would have been probably nice to have him start. I honestly thought, and this is another hindsight thing too, which in hindsight, when we saw Miguel Berry's performance, maybe he shouldn't have started either. But then, I could also go with that either way. But I'm going to save that for the. I know we wanted to hone in on Miguel Berry and sort of the lack of our attacking options at the moment. But yeah, I think again those two, probably Neil and Berry, were I think the two talking points. By the way, shout out to the two defensive midfielders from Austin starting lineup. By the way, they were spectacular. I thought this game. I think Alex Ring got their man of the match, and
Yep.
yeah, they were more than goal scorers. To me, they were the men of the match and absolutely
Danny Pereira
controlled
did his thing too.
and dominated our midfield from start to finish. And that was where the game was won and lost, like you always say, Robert, the midfield battle.
Yeah, I remember you looking over at me like in the 30th minute, and you were like, "Man, the midfield is having a stinker," and they were. And you saw it because the Galaxy fell 2-0. They couldn't get anything going, and this one was over within 20 minutes, basically. I mean, it was I said it to you, and you laughed, and then I heard it a couple different times post game from people walking by, and then in subsequent tweets from a bunch of Austin fans. But this was a Josh Wolf masterclass, man. They did the smash and grab, they got their goals, and then they just hunkered down and played for each other. And the Galaxy couldn't get anything going. So in the 7th regular season match between these teams, the Los Verde finally got one over in on the Galaxy. I mean, they looked punishing over on the Galaxy. I mean, they were allowed nothing to get going. So now the Galaxy leads the all-time series 4-2-1. This was their 6th road match of the season. They hold a 3-2-1 record on the road. It was the first time the Galaxy were shut out all year. That much vaunted offense finally met its match against a defense and could not get anything going. Greg Vanny spoke about why. We'll get into that, but just generally, they weren't doing well at moving the ball around. So, like I mentioned, this one was essentially over within 20 minutes. The Galaxy find themselves down 2-0 after 20, and it was the transitions that killed them. For as much as Ricky Puig received a lot of criticism for his performance, he was actually one of the highest rated Galaxy players, or I believe he was the highest rated Galaxy player. He had a game high 5 chances created, won 8 of 15 duels, completed 85 of 92 passes for a 92% pass accuracy rating, and completed 4 dribbles. However, because of I'm just going to say it, petulance, for his propensity to just complain, he received his 5th yellow card of the season. So that means he'll be out against Seattle next week. And Ananda, you brought up an interesting stat that all 5 of these yellow cards have been received for complaining and not for anything during the passage of play. So just basically he just complained himself out of match. So the Galaxy are without Ricky Pooch for a difficult match against Seattle next week. But silver linings, we did say that Jalen Neal made his way back. He made his first appearance in league play since June 11th, 2023. Almost a year. That's 321 days without playing a regular season match. And he played a half in 45 minutes. He completed 29 of 31 passes. 3 accuracy rating, won 3 duels, won 1 tackle. And yeah, I think there was absolutely no drop off. I mean, he good. Obviously he's not all the way back to being 100% match speed, but I mean, in this one he looked all right. I mean, it's not a surprise that the Galaxy looked a little bit more assured in defense in the second half. Another one that had one greatly under Jonathan Perez. You mentioned Pico Rivera, so here's the pride of Pico. He was a spark plug when he came on. He was very bright, completed 11 of 11 passes, won 3 of 5 duels, and won 2 of 2 tackles in 11 minutes played against Austin. Also want to call out John McCarthy. Didn't have his best game in this one, but he is second in the league in saves with 39. Of course, Brad Stuver, his opposite number in this match, is first with 51. He made an incredible save on Ricky Pooch. Just evidence of the shot stopper's ability right there. But that stop right there could have been the difference between a Galaxy tie, Galaxy win, and Stuver did well to keep it out. But that's pretty much how we got to the 2-0 loss. Ananda, like I said, it was over in 20 minutes. Diego Rubio scored in the 7th minute. Good passage of play. Again, this one happens in the transition. Austin just moves the ball really, really well in the midfield, and they get Diego Rubio there on the short overlap, and he beats McCarthy at his far post. Just a couple moments later, about 10 minutes later, Jader O'Brien just tore and Martin Cáceres to get on the end of an Alex Ring pass, and he just kisses it off the post and in for the 2-0. And yeah, man, that's the 2-0 right there, and the Galaxy really could never find their way back. So Ananda, I know you're the guy that's in love with stats. I mean, we all saw it. We talk about the eye test, but of course the numbers will back it up.
Yeah, man. Unfortunately, I have to go through these stats, but it was pretty interesting. I mean, the one thing that obviously stood out even before looking at the stats was obviously we didn't have many chances, but I'm going to go through the stats here and we'll talk through them a little bit. So for those of you on audio, I'm going to sort of narrate what's on the screen here. So possession, 60% to the 60% to 40% in favor of the Galaxy. Interestingly, though, Robert, the first half, it was more even. I think the second half was largely dominated by LA Galaxy. I believe they had 70% possession, 70 some odd percent possession. But unfortunately, Robert, with that possession, we didn't do anything with it. Look at those expected goals, 1.06 versus 0.52. We did not create any clear-cut chances. In fact, we only created 1 big chance off of 5 shots on target. Meanwhile, Austin FC created 3 big chances off of their 5 shots on target. And passes, we were at 92% packed accuracy, again, with the dominance in the second half. We connected on 505 passes versus Austin FC's 326. But again, Robert, as we've seen with a lot of teams that play the LA Galaxy this year, possession doesn't really mean anything. I think a lot of these teams, that's their game plan, is to let the Galaxy come onto them, and they know about the lack of speed in the transition. So hit them on the counter with speed, right? Which is, if you got weapons like O'Brien and even, Jassy Zardes, when he came off the bench, if you got weapons like that with speed, teams can get at the Galaxy. And we talked about that coming into this game with Michelle. 13 fouls committed on both sides and 10 corners, Robert, to 2 for Austin FC. By the way, like, I want to talk about this because it's funny. Judge Sophie brought this up last week on Corner of the Galaxy. It's like, should the Galaxy be looking at a set piece coach right now, both offensively and defensively? Because, man, 10 corners is a lot. And to do absolutely nothing off those 10 corners, Rob, I mean, come on. Like, I don't know how many set pieces goals we have this year. I think I need to look into that stat. I think fairly low. I want to say maybe 1 or 2 even. I will fact check that for you guys, but it's kind of a shame,
how many
right?
didn't clear the first man?
That's the other thing. That's a really, really good point, because I said, multiple times I was screaming and shouting, clear the first man, please, for the love of God. And they would not. Like, they would not. I was too far in the rafters. I was too far up there, in the corner, sort of in the last row there, standing room only. So yeah. The other thing that I wanted to look at, that, Robert, because I thought coming out of this game without looking at the stats, I even mentioned it to Hernan on WeAreAustinTV. I said on my sort of fan cam that they did, I felt like we were losing every 50-50 challenge. Like, we were losing a lot of duels. And we just were not, our energy levels, we did not meet Austin's energy levels. And I try to look at some stats to kind of prove that. And it's interesting because if you look at duels, both teams won a very similar amount of duels, but take a look at these stats, which I think paint a better picture. So let me remove that so you guys can see the whole thing. So on the screen here, I have the defensive stats. And the one thing that popped out to me was Austin had 6 blocks to LA Galaxy's 1. Austin had 20 clearances to LA Galaxy's 8. So that just shows me, like, that's just energy, Robert. That's like, what do you call them, like in basketball, the hustle stats, right? Those are hustle stats. And even if you look at, I think Ricky Puig had 6 or 7 shots, and I want to say 3 to 4 of them were blocked. I mean, the Austin defenders were sacrificing their bodies. Again, players like Alex Ring, players like Danny Pereira, they were putting their bodies on the line, and I was not seeing that as much from the LA Galaxy. So on top of being, second best on every 50-50 challenge, I thought from an eye test perspective, the stats kind of show that they hustled more than us. They just wanted it, or they either wanted it or they had more energy than us. Either or, at the end of it, it's the same result, and the Galaxy lose 2-0.
Yeah, and they failed once again to earn Greg Vanny his first 3-game win streak. You mentioned O'Brien's speed. O'Brien or O'Brien? I mean, I know he's not Irish. I know he's French.
Yeah, I think it's O'Brien. Yeah.
Oh, he's Colombiano. I don't. Yeah, because I mean, he's not Irish, or else it'd be O'Brien, right? So it's Colombiano. Pero it's interesting because we spoke about these center backs that got torched by him, but I mean, in fairness to the center backs as well, he did hit a top speed of 21.5 miles per hour. So the guy's got pace. So I don't know of a lot of center backs that would have been able to catch him, maybe put him off a little bit, but yeah, yes, the defenders were at fault, but also the guy was just really, really fast. So
yeah,
and he had a fantastic game. I mean, he assisted one.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's in the scouting report though, right? So we shouldn't have played such a high line. The center back should have known that, and they shouldn't have been in such an advanced position. But again, this is one of our Achilles' heel is transition defense, and it's been that way for the last couple of years. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're always talking about the transition defense. Greg's always talking about the transition defense, but yeah, I mean, O'Brien just was on his game, and he had his day. I mean, he scored one and made one. So when you're on, you're just on, and he could have very easily shanked that shot. I mean, a couple of inches to the left, and he would have shanked that shot, but he, did well to take it well and make it just kiss off the bar there and nestle in. You actually talked about John McCarthy's goalkeeping on both these goals, and I suppose we'll go ahead and break down these first 20 minutes here, because it started almost immediately. You could tell, like, almost immediately that this team wasn't with it, man. Like, they weren't you talked about the energy, las ganas. You could tell they just weren't getting to the ball, right? They weren't there, doing the work for each other. They weren't closing down. They weren't moving the ball well. And it's not just me that says it, but Greg Vanny, he said it was unacceptable. He said we didn't show up for the first 20 minutes. I mean, it was as simple as that. The first goal that the Galaxy give up, again, it's just one of those pure transition goals. The second one is just this, again, a transition goal, and then the two center backs do poorly here. Ananda, what do you think happened here in the first 20 minutes for them to look that bad?
Yeah, like I said, I mean, the energy levels weren't there, and I don't know if it was the early start. People have been talking about, their body clocks and all that good stuff. It's like a 10:45 a.m. Pacific Standard Time start, right? So maybe their bodies weren't there, but I know a lot of fans are not going to hear that. They're going to use it as a crutch, and I don't think the team uses it as a crutch either. But it is what it is, right? Maybe it was the humidity. I don't know. I don't know what it was, but the fact of the matter is, and Bryant, by the way, from NAG.
They went out on
Put this
6th Street the night before.
Yeah, with us, right? Exactly. But Brian from NAG said this beautifully, and I 100% agree with him. And we got bullied. We straight up got bullied, man. On every facet of the game, especially in that first 20 minutes. I think the biggest problem for me, if I look at this tactically, was the distances between the defense and attack, Robert. We weren't connected. If you saw Austin, they defended as a team and they attacked as a team, and they were connected. So even when they lost the ball, there was someone there trying to get that second tackle, trying to do the counter press, and they did it, and their game plan worked perfectly, especially after the first goal came in. Because as we always talk about, man, when the first goal comes in against the Galaxy, teams bunker down, and he said, okay, you know what, we're going to set up shop now, right, for the rest of the game. But I think that was the big thing for me, is that I think that was the big thing for me, was that our distances, we didn't get our distances right between attack and defense, and that midfield, there was a huge spaces in the midfield. So when we lost the ball, we were, especially with Austin's really, really good transition, we were caught flat-footed every single time. And unfortunately, we don't have the recovery pace, especially in those center back positions, to, make last ditch tackles and sort of save plays, right? So we had to get our distances right, and we just didn't. Our organization just was not there this game. Again, I don't know what I want to put it down to, because I'm not gonna like guess at what it was. It just wasn't there, and the facts are the facts, right?
Yeah, no, I think I'm gonna blame all the good barbecue they ate. They just they had the meat hangover, man. I mean, we felt it. I mean, we had the meat hangover. We know what it's like. But no, like all jokes aside, I mean, I don't think it would have been as bad, the terrible start, because we saw them have bad starts in other games, and we've seen them have bad moments in other games where they just let in a couple goals, a la SKC. But then there was no impetus towards getting back in this one, right? I mean, there was no threat at the very least in the first half. There was nothing happening up there, and one of the reasons is Miguel Berry was there. He got the start, and it just wasn't happening for him. I mean, he played 45. He only made 3 passes, and one of them was misplayed. He recovered one, and he blocked 1 pass. But yeah, I mean, again, he just wasn't happening for him. I mean, you could tell the guy works his butt off, but just it's not there, and I don't know if it's gonna be there. Well, let's hear what Greg has to say. With Miguel, again, he has not played a ton of minutes with the group, and I felt a little bit just timing and rhythm and certain things there weren't as precise as we would like them to be. He always puts in a shift, and he's always going to do some of the work. Again, it just comes down to how connected is the work to everybody else and what we were trying to get done for the day. There wasn't anything specifically I felt like he wasn't doing. I think, Ananda, that kind of like backs up what you say about how everybody was disconnected. He just wasn't close enough to anybody. I mean, it's obviously that he wasn't making the same kinds of runs that Dayon was, or providing the same hold up play, or point that was, so I don't know what the answer is here. I don't know if Will Kuntz is going to have to go out and do some shopping, but I don't think that Miguel Berry is really the option that you want to have as your number 2 coming off the bench. I mean, do you feel the same way, or do you have some defense of Miguel Berry here?
Yeah, well, Steven says Berry's horrible. I mean, he was horrible in this game, that's for sure. And speaking of disconnected guys, I think Robert's a little disconnected tonight. I know the internet is kicking his butt just like Austin did this weekend. So apologies, with our technical difficulties.
Is it happening again?
It'll get better. Yeah, it's definitely happening. So, but anyways, so oh man, but it is what it is. Speaking of Miguel Berry though, and horrible. Yeah, the thing is, Robert, I've kind of had a couple days to decompress and kind of think about this, right? And I saw a lot of chatter, especially right at full time. Reaction of fans just saying like the one thing I consistently heard was, well, why didn't we bring back Billy Sharp? I actually heard it from a couple of fans that were around me. This is Billy Sharp, right? This is where Billy Sharp would have been. I'm only going to say this, and this is not in defense of him, but I'm just going to state the facts. Like, he is what he is, right? He's a backup striker, and he's $130,000 a year player. Right. Billy Sharp I think he was making double that. I think he was making around 240. He probably would have asked
237, I believe.
Yeah. So he's double that. Right. And he probably was going to ask for more if you wanted to bring him back. So I'm sure we had our reasons. On top of that, sort of Will Kuntz's philosophy on aging players and travel. I mean, Robert, I was looking at the schedule later this season. We've got to travel to, I believe it's Charlotte, but then right before that to Minnesota in a span of 4 days, right? So I don't know if you have too many of those players on your roster. We've already got aging center backs. I don't know if you want to add an aging striker to that, but yeah, a mature striker to that. But this is all I'll say. All I'll say is I think that let's give him a chance for the rest of the first half of the season. If he's still not up to snuff by that point, I think it's clear Will Kuntz is going to have to do something. And I think he will. I have faith in Will Kuntz and sort of, I mean, he hasn't let me down yet in terms of his roster decisions. Maybe he made a little bit of mistake.
He miracles on us.
Maybe he made a little, but Robert, maybe he did make a mistake on this one. I mean, this to me, $130,000 your player, it's low risk, high upside, right? So maybe this was a miss, but you know what? I think if you're trying to find a second attacking option off the bench at striker, I think there are options out there that we'll probably use. We have some things to play with. We've got a U22 slot and we've got TAM, right? Especially with sort of the new salary cap rules. Or the sort of the new rules that MLS stated, that you stated a couple episodes ago, I believe. We've got a couple of those things in play. So it'll be interesting though this summer how we're going to bolster that attack, especially at striker. But I think right now we're just gonna have to ride with it. And but I'm look. Having said all that, I'm going to call a spade a spade. Miguel Berry had a horrible performance. It was not his best look. You can tell that he's not a technically gifted player like Dejan Joveljic. And yeah, we miss Joveljic, man. But again, I'm not gonna go on him too hard because I think he is what he is. But I would expect a little more production out of a backup striker. At least get some shots on goal. No shots on goal, no shots in the first 45 minutes, Robert. And that's unacceptable, I think, for a backup striker.
Yeah, I mean, you know that I'm not like a big Leo Campana fan over in Inter Miami, but there's like the big knock on him is that, especially for Ecuador, is that he doesn't score enough, right? But one of the things that they're like, oh, but he drags the defense with him really well, right? And Miguel Berry wasn't even doing that, It was like he was just making runs to make runs, I was like, oh man, what is he doing? Yeah, I mean, again, it just wasn't happening for him. But Greg did give us an update on Dejan. He said Dejan's week to week. He's been kind of operating at 75% for the past couple of weeks. So they're really having to be judicious with him on whether they want to run with him as is, not being 100%, or maybe let him get back to 100%. Because like you said, May's going to be busy, right? So yeah, again, Greg's just kind of like week to week on him. I think it'll be a game time decision because, I mean, you can't be having a 4 or 5 game stretch with Miguel Berry as the starting striker. I just don't see them, being able to hack that. And maybe that's where Leo Reese has a point here. He says the summer transfer window will be way too late if we struggle finding a solid backup. Personally, I would have put Painso at striker, moved Peck to the right, have Fagundez at left winger. I brought up a similar situation in where Diego was the false nine. I let Ananda know, but again, this is all hindsight, because obviously we'd be talking differently if Miguel Berry had come out and scored a hattie on him. That didn't happen, so we're here wondering, like, what could we have done, right? What could Greg have done? Why did Miguel Berry struggle? We should have done this instead. But like Ananda said, he's a backup striker at 140K. It's obvious that we're not going to be able to win MLS Cup with him as a starter. So something's got to give. Let's see what Will Kuntz does on this one, guys. But I mean, the biggest problem here was that the Galaxy just shot themselves in the foot by going down 2-0. They allowed Austin to just kind of hunker down after that, Ananda. And you called attention to this while we were watching the game. This team, you told me this team is bunkered down and just letting them have the wing. Go ahead and that.
Yeah, I mean, actually, it's funny. I was talking to shout out Profe Alex if you're in the chat or listening, Alex Ruiz, and I think we've been talking about sort of doing these tactical analysis videos, and this is one of the things that we wanted to highlight, sort of, and go double click and go more in depth on it, because this has been an Achilles heel from the offensive perspective. Like, this is, if you look at our two losses this year, so this game and LAFC, I mean, and even some other games as well. You think about, some of the other performances. We've really struggled, Robert, to create chances, to create clear-cut chances against low blocks. And like you said, teams are clogging up that middle anytime either Cerrillo in the second half, Brugman, Delgado, Ricky, they just, collapse, and they put 3 or 4 defenders around him and say, okay, Galaxy, like, we're going to set up 2 banks of 4, bunker in our defensive mids into that back. I mean, Austin sometimes was even in a back 6, man. Like, it was crazy to see. And they're saying, okay, put balls in, because it was I don't know if what it is like what we're doing in training in terms of like how we attack those offensive positions when we're at the wing. But I feel like I don't know, I just feel like sometimes we're going to go for the cutback, or sometimes we just overplay it and then we lose it, and then we lose it in transition, right? So I feel like there's got to be some things done on the training pitch. There's got to be some tactics in play. And the ironic thing, you bring in 2 guys like Mauricio Cuevas and Johnny Perez to hit on those wings, right? They just basically played as a left and right back, or wing backs, or however you want to call it. And like, for example, Mo Cuevas, he has a very, very good delivery, right? He has a really, really good whipped cross on him. And the ironic thing is, you take out the tallest guy on the pitch as your striker, and now you're bringing 2 guys that can whip balls in, right? So with no height to get at the end of. And so, like, I don't know. Again, hindsight's 2020, but maybe, to Leo's point, maybe you should have started with like a Peck or Paintsill up top, and then have Berry off the bench when you are chasing the game, and you can put those balls in the box and have someone at least get on the end of them, right? Because it was clear when we were putting balls in the box that we just had no one to get on the end of those crosses. So I think this is one for Vanny and his coaching staff to really look at the end of the season. Maybe this is something else that we address in the summer too, Rob, is like, when we're chasing the game and those attacking options, obviously that's something they were looking at. Miguel Berry is his height, because Deion's not as, Miguel Berry is 6'3", 6'4". That's a good physical presence to have in the box. But if he's not performing, we got to find a plan B, right? So it'll be interesting. I hopefully, like I said, maybe look out for a video in the next couple of weeks where Alex and I sort of dive deep into this and look tactically, and maybe bring out a tactics boards and stuff, and what's causing this problem. But it's clear to see, man, when teams bunker down in a mid or low block, we struggle, and we don't generate any offense. A lot of our offense has been in and behind. Remember that Ricky through ball, for example, in the last couple of matches. So this is going to be one for us to look at for sure, and we've got to fix his Achilles heel.
So all that to say, I mean, we struggled on offense, we struggled on defense, we couldn't get anything going. The team was blanked. Worst performance of the season so far?
Easily. Easily. We were outplayed from minute 1 to minute 90, right? Like I said, as Brian said, we were bullied. We got bullied. And nothing else to say. I mean, we've kind of talked about all the reasons why. We've talked about maybe some of the off the pitch reasons why and the early start and blah, blah, blah. But we just pulled out an absolute stinker. And of course, on my first away trip as a Galaxy fan. So I'm a great good luck charm.
Oh man, yes. SADA. I mean, but again, like hindsight, right? Because if they had won, we'd be talking about like we got to play SADA every single time, right? But yeah, I gotta agree with you. It was probably the worst I've seen the team look all season. There was belief in every single one of the games in which they fell behind earlier in the season, and I didn't see that in this match. I saw 11 players kind of just playing for large parts of the game by themselves, not really as a cohesive unit. I saw one of the leaders of this team, and Ricky Puig, just waving his arms and yelling at his teammates. I just didn't see a good performance, and Maya Yoshida was very disappointed in the team. He said when they asked him if it was one of the worst performances, he said, yes, we made a wrong start to the game. Well, first 7 minutes conceded, and then everything became more difficult. Of course, especially when you're here, Austin community, everything made a more difficult situation. But we were not enough today, and no one deserved to talk anything, to be honest. I don't deserve anything for my performance. We deserved to lose today. We are very disappointed. We have to learn from this defeat. Ananda, you said, that not to make, the heat, the humidity, anything like that, an excuse, but they did mention it. Greg said, we talked about these early games. It was imperative to get off to a good start, because the difference can be in the first 15 minutes. And we came out and laid an egg for the first 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and we found ourselves chasing an uphill battle for the rest of the game. Maya expanded on there. Yeah, of course, it's not easy. It's a 10:30 a.m. kickoff in LA time, and we have to eat like at 7:30 or something LA time. But again, there's no point to just find an excuse. We have to focus on ourselves. As I said, we don't deserve anything. And even though I speak here in front of the public, excusing the referee, who timeout here had a few missed calls as well, excusing the pitch, the humidity. This is part of soccer, part of MLS. We have to adapt. I don't excuse it, so I prefer to show a good reaction for the next game. So I think they know the latest stinker. I think Greg said it's unacceptable. It is. I think I'd rather get these games out of the way now.
Yeah.
And hopefully they learn these lessons.
Yeah.
I always say, when you lose, don't lose the lesson.
Yeah, exactly. And
What were you gonna say?
I was going to mention too before, because I know you wanted to go through a couple of match reaction tweets that we saw out there in the X sphere. Go ahead and put it in the chat too. I'm going to ask you as well, or maybe let's just leave this one for the chat. But chat, are you guys worried about this performance? Like, do you feel like this is going to linger, or do you think this is just a blip? I could go either way on that. I feel like my answer changes sort of every day since that match. Hopefully it's a blip, but I think there are some worrying signs. So maybe my answer is a little bit of both. So drop it in the chat. And
it's a slippery slope.
Yeah. Let us know what you think.
It's a slippery slope, man. This is a loss. Seattle away is going to be difficult, and RSL's playing good ball. So we can't just say, they're going to go to the digs and it's going to be a Galaxy win.
Well,
so I mean,
yeah, to that point, Robert, we have a very difficult May. I'm just going to read it out to you. And this is what I mean. This is why I bring up this question, because as you said, we had Seattle on Sunday. And then the following Saturday, we have RSL at home, which it's at home, but it's not an easy match. And then this is the doubleheader, or not the doubleheader, but sort of the 2 games in a 4-day span. We travel to Minnesota on a Wednesday, and then we travel to Charlotte on a Saturday, right? And then we end the month with Houston's always, I feel like, historically given us problems, whether they're good or bad in a given season. So, Robert, this May is tough, and I think this is going to show what this team is made of, in terms of whether this was a blip or whether this is something to be worried about.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough for them, right? Because they started the season with a bunch of away matches, and now they're going into a stretch of the season where the games are coming thick and fast, and then they're against good opponents. So they're not getting really anything forgiving from the schedule. So, but again, we'll
Yeah.
know what this team is made of if they get through the stretch here. Tony says this kind of period can linger if we don't get some depth players, i.e., striker and defenders. I think we're set on defenders. I think Jalen coming back and Garces, being integrated is going to be a big boost. But yeah, a striker that would be lovely, right? But yeah, let's see. So let's see how some of your fellow G's out there felt, because there were obviously a bunch of opinions on this match. Hammer, the Portuguese Hammer, says long season, can't win them all, but that was a particular stinky game from the LA Galaxy. There's an older gentleman saying stinky in real big letters there. Chris Mavinga, who is becoming a mainstay there on Galaxy Twitter, says, don't be so negative with LA Galaxy today. We all know they are better than that. It just wasn't our day. Yep, wasn't their day at all. Hopefully it is just a blip and just a one-off bad day at the office. Hopefully. At Druzy says, quite simply, Barry is worthless.
We'll leave it at that.
I don't know. I think it's I don't know. It's too soon to tell. I'm not gonna throw the baby out with the bathwater, but some strong feelings from Druzy right there. Chris at XITS _Chris X says, even great ones stumble from time to time, but we continue the fight on the West. LA Galaxy Amor Eterno, congrats to New York on being the newest bar partner. So
Robert, I wonder if that is it's Chris in our chat. So Chris, let us know if that's you in our chat, if that's your tag. So because I'm just trying to put that I'm putting 1 and 2 together. So there you go.
Oh yeah. No, I mean it stands to reason. It's
Yeah.
Chris X. Yeah, no, X is at the front. X is at the yeah. And then Ricky says, Eric says at Eric LA Galaxy, Ricky got to join us at the Cinco de Mayo pub crawl since he's out versus Seattle. That would be a great way to atone for that. Jeff in 109 at Jeff in 109 says, think you're missing a none of the above option, or how about a nobody option? And that was in reference to our defending the badge tweet. We put out 4 candidates, and some people were like, what are we voting for? Some people said, can we say nobody? Really no one deserved it. Jeff Engelhart at Jeff Engelhart says, I can't believe LA Galaxy got goose egged by Austin FC. We thought that Earthquakes game was going to be a trap game. It seems like Austin FC was a trap game. Our good friend Mike Gray, aka Miggy Gris, says it's okay to lose a match every once in a while. Just saying, LA Galaxy. I would agree if they're going to learn the lessons. So
and again, it goes back to what my question, and this is like, I think you put it in a really good way, Robert, which is it's a slippery slope, and we won't know until we see the next couple of games and the next couple of performances, right? So I'll help you out, man. I'll round out these tweets. So Timmy at Spicy Taco 118, Galaxy Twitter losing their S after a loss? ? Not surprised. Really interesting there. I'm just going to leave it at that because, you can take that however you want, but I think it's an interesting, we're an emotional, but I think we're passionate. Like, we're just passionate about our team. And so, I'm not surprised that I would be surprised if there was what's the word? Apathy, right? Like, I would be more sort of frustrated and disappointed if there was more apathy. We're just a passionate fan base, and it is what it is, right? Like, we dropped a stinker, and I think we all just even I was very visibly upset and frustrated. If you see my fan cam, you can see my face, just not only like recovering from the night before, but just visibly frustrated and annoyed at the team and what I just saw for 90 minutes. And Robert, I think that brings us to defending the badge.
Well, earlier you said that you had a different moment of the match.
Right.
Like I said, mine was Jalen being named as a starter and then them taking it back, which I think, obviously we saw the center backs get cooked for those goals, right? So I think
Yeah.
Jalen would have been a better option to start. But again, that's my moment of the match. You had a different one.
I did. And I had, well, it could have been two. And this is what we were talking about actually in the preview with Michelle Sanchez. So shout out Michelle if you're out there and listening.
Hey, Michelle, what up?
Who brought up expertly that Brad Stuber has been having a heck of a season, and not only heck of a season, but he's been a great sort of servant to the Austin team ever since their conception. Right, he's been an amazing player for them. And Robert, this guy made two huge saves in the first half. Take your pick whether it was which one was the moment of the match. You could take your pick off the Ricky sort of thunderbolt from about 20 something odd yards. And you and I had, all of us there, we had an amazing view of that.
And
well, there's one. We had an
Got
amazing
him.
view of that in that top right corner. It was going there, and Stuver parried it away. And then JP had a very similar shot like Obrian in the first half, whereas McCarthy did not save the Obrian hit to the far post. Brad Stuver did on JP's. It was off a really quickly taken set piece, and
Right.
JP got through on the right, and Stuver made the save. And again, you know, at 2-1, look, at 2-1, I think this is a different game. I think maybe we would have had a little more impetus, maybe we would have had a little more pep in our step, create a little more anxiety for the Austin FC defense, but it wasn't to be. And credit to Brad Stuver. And so I thought those were two really pivotal moments of the match. Man, it could have been 2-2 at halftime, Rob. But, you know, as we always say, good keepers keep themselves in really good games, or keep themselves or keep their teams in games. And we saw that from Brad Stuver, who put in a masterclass, and we saw it earlier in the year against Roman Berkey when, you know, he put in a masterclass for St. Louis as well. And this is the value of having a really good keeper off the or on your team. And unfortunately, John McCarthy on another day, he's been good with us all season, but he did not make the saves. But on another day, he does, right? So those are the fine margins that sometimes Vanny talks about as well. But anyways, that was my moment of the match. I think Stuber was awesome this match. He also put in a heck of a performance, heck of a shift for that team.
So Stuver gets the defending of the badge for Austin. And you know, I guess we got to give some defending the badge out to a Galaxy player, right? Even though again, there's people in the mentions and stuff like that saying like, can we give it to no one? But we do have 4 candidates here: JP, Jalen Neal, Edwin Cedillo, and Johnny Perez. It is no surprise that 3 of the 4 candidates here are substitutes because the starters just were not getting it done. So Ananda, do you have a winner here? You know, Jalen Neal was making his return. Johnny Perez was making his second appearance and did really well, got a couple of good crosses in. Obviously, Edwin Cedillo came in to add a little bit more calm, which is kind of funny because Gaston just did not have a good game. And Joseph Painso was dangerous. Unfortunately, he just couldn't get that first half shot to fall. So anyway, do you have a pick here? Hector is actually calling out McCarthy. I have to disagree just because of the reasons we said. You know, on another day,
Yeah.
I feel like he makes those 2 saves.
Yep. Yeah.
Again, hindsight's 20/20. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I am actually going to give mine because I can't give it to anything that anyone did on the pitch. So I'm going to give mine to Edwin Cedillo, man. And, you know, on the pitch, all I'll say is he didn't give up any goals in the second half, or at least him. I thought he, like you said, Gaston didn't have a great game. And I told you and Michelle that I thought he would be a key factor of this match, just protecting that back 4, which just didn't happen. He didn't have his best game. His passing game was a little bit off as well. But, you know, Cerrillo, you know, I thought he did well to at least move the ball around, and he was safe in possession, meaning like he kept the ball really well. He didn't get dispossessed a lot. I felt like he was in control, and he didn't get the ball nicked off of him. He kept the play going right. But here's the one thing, man, you know, there was one play that I want to call your attention to that sort of made me turn my head with Cerrillo. And I don't know if you caught this because I was sitting next to you, and I think we were all just like so down at that point where it's like, this game's over. Let's just get the F out of here, right? 86th minute, game's almost over. And Josty Zardes, ex-Galaxy player, he got the ball in his own half and took it the length of the pitch, man. Like he zoomed past like 4 or 5 defenders, beats Marky Delgado, and could have had a clear one-on-one, probably against a defender. And guess who came all the way back to shoulder him off and actually bumped him off and win the possession back for us? That was Edwin Cerrillo. So he tracked Jossie all the way for about, I would say, 20, 25 yards just to get that tackle back. And, you know, that showed me that even in the 86th minute when all seems lost, he had the fight back. And that was one of the few times, because I was sat down at the point, I actually stood up and clapped him for that, because I thought that it's like, hey, this guy's still showing heart. This guy's still showing tenacity. And that's the kind of player I think Edwin Cerrillo is as well. And the other thing too is, you know, we talked about, can you guys still hear me? Oh, there you go. My connection just went. Maybe I'm the one that's having internet issues.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, cool. Half hour after the match, you know, you and I were down there, Rob, you and I. There you go. There's a second one. We were down at the match.
Got him. Chief.
I got myself there. But man, after the match, he was taking pics with his family and took another 10 minutes to take pics with Galaxy fans. You know, this was probably, I would say, 30, 40 minutes after the final whistle. And he didn't have to do that, right? He was probably visibly frustrated. I mean, I know he was there with his family, but again, defending the badge is not always just about your performance on the pitch, but it's just that you are representing the badge with pride and you sweat for the shirt. And I felt like just those two things, I'm going to give Edwin Cerrillo my defending the badge, man.
Yeah, no, that's a good candidate right there. And, you know, it'd be really easy for me to give it to Jalen, the Truth Neal, for his comeback. But I think I'm going to give it to Diego, just because he was able to, not able to, but like it was always going to be an emotional game for him. And he came out and he provided a spark. You know, I'm really happy that he got to, you know, play in front of family again and get some love from the Austin faithful there, who, I mean, everybody just applauded him there when he came on. So but again, like that's an emotional game for him, right? So he came out and he showed well. Unfortunately couldn't provide the goal that we thought that he was going to get. But yeah, man, mine's Diego. But unfortunately, we are both wrong again. So this week, the winner, after 23 million votes, the winner of the people's vote is Jalen Neal with 38.9% of the vote. The Truth wins his first defending the badge of the season, and he only played 45 minutes. So that's already doing really, really well. So congratulations to Jalen Neal for his first defending the badge win of the season. Man, 45 minutes already defending the badge. That's
I know,
that's
but didn't you feel, Robert, in the second half that like having Jalen back there, you felt a better sense of security, like meaning Jalen's really good at pinching in and winning the ball back high up the pitch too. And if he doesn't, he has a recovery pace in and behind. I think there was one play, I don't know who got through. I think it was Obrion. It might have been Rubio too. I can't remember who it was in the second half. And Jalen got back and tracked back. And he got sort of either just like a little push, or he threw the opposition off. And I just feel like a better sense of security just because of Jalen's intelligence, his positioning, but also if he is a little bit out of position, he has more recovery pace than Cáceres. So man, it was a welcome sight to see Jalen back, and I can't wait for him. Hopefully he starts the next game and he gets that full 90 minutes, and I can't wait for him to get a season off, because we really need him back there.
Yeah, especially because they still don't know what's wrong with Martin Cáceres, right? I mean, I think right now, obviously, you could see that Martin struggled a little bit, especially on that second goal. So it's probably a godsend for Greg Vanney that Jalen Neal's coming back in this particular moment. Well, he wins his first defending the badge. He joins the pantheon of Galaxy players to get their first win this season. Who is on more than one, Ananda? I know we had somebody on more than one.
Yeah, it was JP, I think, and Mark. I have to look at the official stats again. And again, sorry guys, like our internet is absolutely kicking our butts tonight. But you know, we will we will try to I don't know, man. We gotta get some fast connection here. But it is what it is. But yeah, I think it was Mark.
We are unbreakable.
I think it
though.
was we are breakable actually at this moment in time. But yeah, I think it is Mark Delgado. But you know, we will see how it goes. Again, I'm just glad to have Jalen back, and yeah, we'll see who gets next week's. But it's clear the whole team has to step up, man. The whole team has to step up. I think this was like we said, an absolute stinker, and the less said about this performance, the better. So let's move on, Robert. Let's look ahead.
Let's move on. Let's look ahead. But before we do, let's tell you where the Galaxy are before their next match. The Galaxy are still in first place, or tied for first place. Apparently, Real Salt Lake holds the tiebreaker there, but they have a 5-2-3 record, 21 goals for, 15 against. They are on 18 points, or tied for first place there in the Western Conference standings, and they sit in second place in the Supporter Shield standings behind only Inter Miami. But they do have a game in hand over Miami. The Galaxy is averaging 1.8 points per game, and yeah, I mean, so Galaxy's still in first place right now, or near the top of the table. But again, the slippery slope could be on its way. Hopefully, they are able to navigate everything well. Coming up, the Galaxy is still on the road. They're going to look to rebound and avoid their first 2-game skid. They will face the Seattle Sounders at Lumen Field on Sunday, Cinco de Mayo at 3:45 p.m. Of course, we'll bring you a game preview for that match on Thursday, May 2nd at 9 p.m. And yeah, of course, stick with us because we're going to bring you a very special 100th episode of La Cuna Galaxiana as a match reaction for that Seattle match. Ananda, anything else to add before we get on out of here?
Yeah, I'm gonna leave the last word to chat per the usual. So, you know, we talked about earlier. I posed the question whether this was just a blip or whether you guys are worried. So, Big Heck said that honest, we needed a loss like this to put things in perspective. Hey, man, if this is a learning lesson, as Robert always says, hopefully, you know, the lessons are taken from losses like this. So let's hope that rings true. Tony, like you said earlier, it can linger if we don't get some depth players. I think for me, a striker and a midfielder, someone from that midfield cover, because, you know, if we lose a Gaston or Mark, we're short in that department, in my opinion. I know we got, you know, your Aguirres and stuff off the bench, but maybe another sort of more defensively minded midfield options. Raul here says he's worried, man. He doesn't like to see the team frustrated and exposed. Other teams will take note, if not corrected. And I agree with him. I think right. I even mentioned it to a couple of the Galaxy fans last week that, you know, Brian Schmetzer is looking at the tape, man. He's looking at the tape these last 2 games against San Jose, and where we gave up 3 goals, and this game where we gave up 2. And he's going to look at that and say, okay, where can we expose the Galaxy? So I don't disagree with you, Raul. And I think that's a great point. Leo says, going to the season, I fear that they give us false hope. We can easily head in the opposite direction. Ricky's out next week. Multiple game weeks are coming up. I was hoping that 30 minutes they played last game was the birth of realization for the team to man up and move to the next level. I don't disagree with you, man. That's a great comment there. And
should have been a wake-up call.
It should have been a wake-up call, and hopefully this is even more of a wake-up call. And Stephen Ma says there's a very good chance we will choke versus Seattle. I mean, I hope that's not the case, but as I told you, man, Brian Schmetzer is a good coach. He's going to be looking at that tape, and he's going to come up with a really, really good game plan against the Galaxy. So hopefully Greg and his players are up to the task. And like I said, I don't think this game to me wasn't so much tactics and X's and O's. It was just energy levels, man. We just did not wake up for this game.
Ganas.
And, you know, hopefully we'll talk about on the Seattle preview of ways that this team can turn it around and maybe some other things that we can correct. But Less said about this game, the better, and let's move on, man. Onwards and upwards.
Yeah, so Lacuna Galaxians, unfortunately, Galaxy fell to a 2-0 away loss against Austin. But fortunately, you were here to have some group therapy with us, and we thank you for it. Of course, we always thank you for listening to this humble little pod. If you're here, it's because you found us on youtube.com/at Lacuna Galaxiana. Go ahead and put someone on, help us out, and let your loved ones know about this pod. We'll bring you the 100th episode, quote unquote, on Monday, May 6th at 9 p.m. That'll be a Seattle match reaction in which hopefully the Galaxy have course corrected and gotten back to winning ways. You can find us on all the socials at Lacuna Galaxiana. And yeah, we thank you once again for hanging with us. One thing left to say, Ananda, it's always G's up.